experience at W League level in the WMPL and international level, Gulcan Koca. You know, I'll get your name right one day, won't I? Gulcan Koca. I've been practicing for about 7 years. From Melbourne City, we have Head of Community, Sue Crow. And the Game Development Coordinator at Melbourne City, Missailidis. Good to have you. Give them a welcome, come on. Stella, we might start with you. If you could talk us through perhaps what changes you've seen inside Melbourne Victory to promote female engagement.
We've seen enormous changes. I started at Victory about 5 years ago, and I think as a club we were heavily focused on A-League and boys' participation. In the last 5 years we've added a female board director who is in the room somewhere, Caroline Carnegie, who's been an amazing addition to the club. My appointment was to develop the community programs, and it became apparent to me a couple of years in that one of the areas that we had neglected was female participation. So it took me about 12 months, and I was lucky enough then to be able to convince our CEO that G would be a great addition to the team. She's been amazing, and we've also seen, I think, certainly in the past couple of years, we've seen a lot of changes in our digital and social media strategy. So you will now see a lot more content for our W League team and promoting female participation across our media platforms.
And how do you feel that filters down to the clubs? If say you think that the W League team, think of them as the top tier, how does that filter down from your club?
Sure, I think our W League players are incredible role models for young girls, and I think probably a really great experience that I had recently, we had a game in the Latrobe Valley, and the girls, it was a W League game. We had an option to take whichever team we wanted down there, so we decided to take our W League squad. They played against Adelaide, and the stadium was packed full of young girls and their parents, and the engagement between our W League players and these young girls was incredible. So the players stayed for about an hour after the match because the young girls just wanted to be part of it all. So to have role models, I think, to see that there's an opportunity for young girls to advance and to see that they can be, you know, just as good as men, that they can get that level of profile and get support from a club like ours and support from the media, support from FFA and from FFV. I think it really makes a huge difference.
Well, you've got one of those wonderful role models to your left. Gulcan, you've been part of the W League for about 9 years now and part of the community experience at Victory for 2. What changes have you personally seen in engagement and participation for women?
I think for myself, being able to have the platform with Melbourne Victory to reach out to more kids, whether it's within Victoria, as in more inner city or outer to the country, just the impact and the influence that us as players and as role models can have and change these kids' lives. I've had moments where I've gone out to, I actually went to Latrobe Valley, we've been going there a fair bit, went there last week, and kids almost say, "Oh, what are you doing here? Like, you're famous." Like, and for them to be able to actually interact with someone that they thought they could just see on TV or see on social media, and to actually be able to meet them, it makes them think, okay, this is a person, they're real, they're giving their time up for me. I can do that one day. I can be like that player. I can play for Melbourne Victory. I can play for the Matildas. It just makes them realise that I guess the aspirations and goals aren't that far out of reach, and it's something that they can actually do. They can aspire to do it, and they can be a Matilda or a W player one day, which is fantastic. And to be able to put smiles on those kids' faces and have them say, "Oh, can you follow me on Instagram?" And then when you follow them back, they're like, oh, like it's such a surreal experience. And those interactions are, until you actually are in that position, it's such a satisfying experience to have. And I'm very fortunate that with Melbourne Victory, I've been able to reach so many young girls and being able to provide them the happiness that football provides myself.
Now, unfortunately for us, you're a Turkish international, as far as your football goes, not in the green and gold, but you've seen very closely the impact of the Matildas' success. How important do you think that is to engagement with the female fans and participation for women?
Oh, it's incredibly important. So for the Matildas and the success that they've had, it actually opens the eyes of all the male-dominated clubs and the clubs that are more so male-focused, because it makes us have a look and say, well, the Matildas have been a lot more successful than the men have recently. So it does get more girls into the sport. So football has become the #1 sport over swimming and netball, which has been fantastic. So with the success of the Matildas, it's giving those players that have worked so hard, whether it's in the W League or when they go overseas and play, the recognition that they deserve and the recognition that women deserve within football. They've done an amazing job for all of us, and I can't credit them enough for all the effort they put in. And honestly, yes, I've played for Turkey, but I'm so proud of those girls. They've been my teammates and my friends, and I support them through and through, and I can't wait to see them beat China tonight.
I do think we've got some guests from the Chinese delegation here, so with all due respect. But you mentioned, Gulcan, the success the Matildas have had recently, more successful than the men recently, and we don't like to draw the comparison, but I think they've always been more successful than the men, and we won an Asian Cup long before the men thought of doing it, so good on the girls. Let's cross to the rival club, and Sue, can you perhaps outline some of the initiatives that City has undertaken to increase female participation?
Yes, I'll talk about 4 initiatives that we're doing, which hopefully will be of interest to the people from Clubland in the room. The first one is Soccer Mums, which is a partnership with FFV supported by Vic Health, and it's about getting inactive women active. So we're often talking about the mums who are standing on the sidelines, who've driven the kids to training and standing around and watching. So we're looking at getting them more active, and hopefully there might be clubs interested in running this program. We can employ coaches from your clubs to actually run this. So Jen Wilmot is up the back, and she's going to talk more about that tomorrow. But if you're interested, go and see Jen. She's under the Soccer Mums banner. Secondly, we run training for young leaders. It's a 4-day free training program in January at the club, and it's about getting young people, improving their leadership and also their football coaching skills. So it's particularly for young people who are interested in working in community football and either volunteering or working at their club or at our club. So again, we really want to improve the number of girls in our programs, and it's often we find it very hard to find female coaches for some of our programs, particularly our multicultural ones. So if there's interest there, again, people, please feel free to contact me. We also run free girls-only school holiday clinics every school holidays. So again, that's open for girls to come along. And with all our programs, we also involve our W League players if they're around. So they'll always come along and talk to the girls and meet the girls, provide some inspiration. City Challenge is another program that we started up this year. And it was about getting a group of girls and young women together to identify the issues and barriers that faced women and girls in football clubs, and then to come up with some strategies to, I guess, address them. So we have a little working group each school holidays, and the first issue they came up with was it was around the media coverage within clubs of their girls' teams compared to their boys' teams. So we brought them together the following school holidays, and our media team actually gave them some lessons on social media, and so that they could actually take control of what was being put out about their girls' teams and get a lot more media coverage for their teams. So we're going to be running another City Challenge in February at a doubleheader here, and again, any young girls or women involved in clubs are welcome to come along. And finally, I just wanted to talk about our speed mentoring program, where we involved a number of females from our key stakeholders, our sponsors and other groups we work with, and we brought them together for a breakfast with girls from our city clubs and also girls from our affiliate schools, and ran a speed mentoring session. So we've just got a little video on that, if we can roll that, please.
Hi, I'm City TV reporter Sophie Smith here at Melbourne City Football Club for a speed mentoring program in honour of International Women's Day.
For today we had a girls' speed mentoring session. So we had 10 mentors come from all parts of our business, from sponsors. We had Amy Jackson, one of our players, and we had a number of our staff from admin in the football department. And they were here to meet girls from our affiliate schools and some of our young leaders, plus the CEDA program. And we had a speed mentoring session. It's connected with International Women's Day, female football round, and also just the work we're doing across the week with inspiring young girls.
Yeah, look, it was an exceptional morning. We had about 50 to 60 girls come into the facility. It was a chance to show them what we as athletes are provided at City. And from there, the girls were broken up into small groups and were given a taste of sort of the opportunities and pathways that are available for women in sport. As a soccer player myself, I could introduce them into the pathways available for athletes, but also with my experience within the sporting industry and from an academic point of view, sort of provide some pathways and guidance into what the future can actually hold for them in sport.
Dreaming big, working hard, and being a good team player. I think that's the three things that I would have hoped that they got out of my 10 minutes with them today. I just truly believe that there should be more women doing lots more things in sport and in general. You can be part of a team or a club or a workplace or a family. So you can have that lovely feeling of inclusiveness, but also be the best you can be from an individual perspective. So I thought it was a really nice theme happening today.
International Women's Day, Melbourne City was awesome. I really got a lot out of it. The thing that I got out of it most, I think, would be that we can achieve anything as women, whether it's in sport or in a business or even as an occupation future in life. I think the best thing about women's side is that you can relate better and that you feel as equal as the boys do when you have your own team as women. That really inspired me to achieve what I want to do.
We're very lucky to have the facilities that we do here at Melbourne City, and to give the girls a taste of being a professional athlete for the day also while mentoring them, I think was a great experience for them to sort of feed off for the future and to explain to them that we're provided with the same opportunities, the same facilities and the same resources as the men here at City, for me is a big plus, but then for the girls to see that it's actions as well, so it's not just words, and to me actions speak louder than words.
That's a wrap on one of City's many initiatives in its week-long celebrations of International Women's Day. There are 50 girls that have left the club truly empowered about what they can achieve on the pitch and off.
Thanks, Sue. That looked like a great day, and I think that, well, if any of you have questions about that, we will have the floor open to questions after this panel chat. Can you just tell us, from doing initiatives like that, how many girls do you think that don't already play football you engage in the game or engage to follow the club and support the W League and become part of the team?
Yeah, I haven't got numbers, but certainly our feedback from the girls and their teachers or coaches is that they have become more inspired. They do come, they may not necessarily join the club, but they do come along to games. And we'll also bring these girls along to games as well to give them a taste of what they can be part of.
I think we understand the unique situation that the female City players are in. They've got unparalleled facilities, but at the end of the day, as Gulcan said, it's getting out there and your players seeing these kids, seeing these women, involving them. How important do you think it is for the young girls to have these role models at the elite level?
Oh, absolutely. What Gulcan said is completely correct. There's so many stories of elite athletes, and Bridie would attest to this, who are, as good as they are because they were inspired in their younger days by another elite athlete. So I think it's just so important to get the players out there in the community. Yeah.
Melissa, as a player for Bundoora United and having worked in the community environment at Melbourne City, what do you see as the key areas that perhaps the local clubs are looking for engagement?
Yeah, look, I think I speak from a perspective of, having worked in a professional sporting organisation but playing at a local club level for many years. And obviously some of the main issues identified are funds and resources to actually implement certain strategies and programs to increase female participation. But I think one of the bigger ones is the awareness, definitely. So how can clubs actually promote female participation? How can they get girls down to the club? So I think it's all about that promotion and awareness. I still go to schools and a female will touch a ball and have only touched it for the first time. So, and I think there's a lot of different barriers in terms of that, and some of those can be cultural. So I think we just need to work on the awareness across the entire span to promote female participation in local clubs.
So having been a player at the WMPL level and have been involved in a professional club, is the onus more on one or the other?
Look, I think they both work hand in hand. I think professional sporting organisations can certainly assist with the resources that they've already established and developed. And this is where I think we can come in and assist local clubs with everything that we have and we do. We need to use our players to promote female participation amongst sport, and exactly what Sue and Gulcan have touched on, and provide role models so that these girls at a junior level can actually see being a professional player become a reality and make the gap between what their thought are and what is much smaller.
Just to all of you, I don't know whether any of you have a specific idea on perhaps where we can convert those young female fans into players or into fans of female football. I mentioned before I've got a daughter that plays and she lives in a football-loving household and is probably just sick of football by the time the weekend comes around. However, her first knee-jerk instinct was to go and see the men's club play, and boys play football, and her brothers both played football. We enrolled her mainly because we were down at the field anyway, so she was enrolled to play, and now she absolutely loves it. But she plays because of her friends and has to be then encouraged to support up the chain for women's football. She was absolutely delighted when she went to the Matildas when they played Brazil in Sydney, and that's completely changed her thinking around what it takes to be an international footballer and how exciting that is. How do you see it? In what ways can we better engage and get that connection?
I think from our perspective, it's really around getting parents as well to take the kids to the games. It's great to say make the kids fans, but if the parents don't take them, you can't make them fans. They can't get there on their own. So we really need the people in clubs to actually support that, just as we're looking to support clubs to build their female participation. We'd love to see that come back the other way so that the clubs are bringing the kids in to actually see the games.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that, and it's quite correct to say that girls play because of their friends. Often, girls and boys often play for different reasons, and it is really around that friendship space. And again, we need to have the parents bringing the girls so that they can actually see it. It's much easier for a family often to go and watch the men because that's maybe where the interest is. But if they don't see the women, they don't know what to aspire to.
Gulcan, you spoke to the importance of going to actually see young girls in person and young women in person and perhaps conduct coaching clinics. There is only so many of you in a squad, though. I mean, we aren't as perhaps fortunate in numbers-wise in our squads as some of the other codes. So there's only so many of you to go around. How do you deal with it?
For myself, I find that I'm always the one wanting to go to these things. Not that no one else wants to go, but it's almost... Sorry, that came out really wrong. What I mean to say is that I try and fill my schedule up before I ask anybody else, because I think I get a lot out of it as well. So it's almost like I'm gaining more than the kids because I love doing these sessions. I love being involved, seeing the development, introducing football to these young kids. So obviously we can't reach everyone, but it's word of mouth. It's that impact that we have, say, at that one school, that one group of kids, that we hope that is such a massive impact on their lives, and that knowledge of football and that introduction, that they pass it on, and with that experience it's just kind of like a ripple effect. It just keeps going. And then hopefully with more numbers, with more community coaches, with more female coaches, with our CETA programs, I'm mentoring 10 to 15 female coaches. So we're growing as a club and we're trying to build it as much as we can. So just quickly, just an experience I had. I went to an English language school in Collingwood. A lot of new arrivals that had been there for about a week, and the teacher said to me, we've never heard the girls laugh since I've been here. They've been here for a week or two and we've never heard them laugh until they played football, and they had never played it before. So it's moments like that. That's why I say that I'm always the one going. It's because I almost feel selfish that it's so satisfying getting that reaction from the girls that I don't want to share it with anybody else. So we
might have to have a chat about your job, I think.
But it's an amazing experience, and I'm very fortunate that I'm in a position to provide that for young girls and to be able to spread the love of football.
I think I'd agree with that. I know from our perspective, both our male and female players love doing the community visits, and they get far more joy out of the community than doing the sponsor obligations that they have to do. So, and often we'll have players put up their hands.
Hopefully none of your commercial partners are here,
yes,
Sue.
Hopefully not. But they'll often put up their hands and offer to come out again, in their own time to do these visits, because they get a lot themselves, and it provides a really good balance from their elite lifestyle that they live to then get back into community and engage.
All I'm hearing from the last 3 minutes is if you need a player at your club, get Gulcan Koca, because she doesn't say no.
Please don't do that. We have an enormous number of requests come through. I'd also like to acknowledge, though, Natasha Derry.
I was going to say, I'm looking at you.
I can't see her anywhere, but...
Oh, she's there.
Oh, there she is. She is an absolutely brilliant asset to the game. She comes in every year. She puts her hand up to do everything. We see her in the club all the time, and I think that for us makes such a difference for the staff as well, to understand the importance of the W League. So sometimes that can get a bit lost in the, there's all this hype around the men, but to have your W League players in your office actually talking to the staff, talking to management, it makes a massive difference, because the staff then they know them, they've got much greater respect for them, and I think she's an absolute asset to the club. So wherever you are, Tash, thank you.
And I'm sure you've all seen her play, an absolute joy to watch and to call your games. And Melissa, I want to ask you, I know when I watch the likes of these ladies play, I think, oh wow, I wish I kept it up when I was younger. Is that important, do you think, for female engagement, that there is that pathway for players, or is that not what it's about, the key to engagement?
No, I think making the pathway as realistic as possible is really important, and showing that there's an obvious path to get to where you want to be is really important for young girls, starting off obviously at the local club level and then working your way through into senior football, and establishing yourself as a senior football player really smallens that gap in between playing W League and NPL. So I think it's definitely really important.
Our theme today, before we open it to the floor, of course, is Matildas growing grassroots. From each of you, perhaps one final idea on where you think this connection can be made between the elite level and between grassroots, down to, the under fives, under sixes, and then through to the all-age women who are playing.
Yeah, I suppose the more opportunities the grassroots get to connect. So this is not an easy request, but more games for the Matildas, more games around the country, and, potentially a longer W League season too. Practically our entire team leave after our last game, travel overseas, so we don't have access to them for most of the year. And ideally, we'd love to be able to have have our W League players engaging in the community year round. But at the moment that's not possible because they obviously have to earn an income, and they can do that by playing in 2 countries.
So to all the clubs out there, the onus is not on you, FFA, it's all on you. Melissa, how about you?
Yeah, I think obviously in agreement with what Sue said, and I guess the reason why the W players do leave is because they can't play at that high level here. So potentially having increased competitions would be something that would assist, I think.
I think certainly, while the level is certainly elite, the longer competition, and we understand, of course, the limitations, and a lot of them are budget and so on. And I think that we've come a long way from not even having a league. So while we accept that, I see where you're coming from, Stella.
I think I'd like to see more opportunities in sports administration for the players when they finish playing, because they've got a lot to add to football, a lot to add to sport, and I'd like to see them in more board positions. Certainly those that have got experience coming through, I think they can have a massive impact on how the elite athletes engage with young players.
Gulcan, you've come all the way through from the WMPL and probably clubs prior to that to the elite level. Is there a key factor you think is missing in female engagement?
Well, with myself, I know that the reason why I started football is because I wanted to be better than my brother. So, and I wish that when I was the age that I was when I started, I was 9 years old, I wish that I had the role models that the girls do have today. The likes of Sam Kerr, Steph Catley, Laura Allaway, I feel like those girls are so important to the growth of football, and with that, that's just going to come hand in hand with the growth of football from the grassroots level. And I feel that in the next, say, 4 or 5 years, it's just going to be fielding those teams with coaches and administrators rather than actual numbers, because with the success of the Matildas, who's not going to want to play football? Who's not going to want to be any one of those Matildas that are in the squad right now, because each and every one of those girls deserve to be where they want to be, and honestly, every young girl wants to aspire to be them. So realistically, I feel that it's kind of having that foundation to be able to have those girls there, where there's coaches, administrators, teams. So I feel like football's just going to get stronger and stronger for females.
Yeah, agreed. And the most recent stats show that as far as club participation goes, you're bang on the money. Everyone wants to play football, which is great. Folks, let's hand it over to you. If you have questions about perhaps how the elite and the grassroots can perhaps improve relationships, coordination, engagement, participation, stick your hand up. We've got a mic coming to you, just a moment. If it's specifically to someone, could you also please let us know who?
My name's Helen. I'm from the Horsham District Soccer Club. I've travelled 4 hours down to come and join you all here. I would like to know how many people, boys and girls, have visited north of Ballarat to any of the schools in the last 4 years, because I've seen no one.
We have been to Horsham.
When?
Yeah, probably 3 years ago.
Right. AFL has taken a stranglehold up there, an absolute stranglehold, and we just don't see soccer players. We have AFL clubs come through. You know, we're trying our best up there, but we really need people on the ground, sports stars on the ground like these young ladies. Yeah, and the men. We
do understand, or certainly, and I'm sure you ladies do firsthand understand exactly where you're coming from. I spoke a little to the numbers that AFL have, and also the resources that they have behind them. Can you?
Yeah, I'd actually welcome you to contact either club, and we'll see if we can get up there.
I think it is difficult for us. We're probably in a couple of areas. We're not zoned like AFL clubs are. So Sue and I, we've got the wild, wild west of football in Victoria. We can go anywhere, which means we have to be careful about how we use our resources and use them to best effect. And we are faced with the challenge of, we often hear that we're compared to the AFL. Melbourne Victory is only 13 years old, so we haven't got the resources that an AFL club that's been here for 150 years has got. We've managed, I think, incredibly well. The two clubs have managed remarkably well with the resources they have. So in terms of players, an AFL club might have 60 players in their squad, and that's just the boys. So we don't have those sorts of numbers. So we're spread fairly thin. We'd love to be everywhere, but the reality is we just can't. And we have to be really selective about where we go. We'd love to come to Horsham, but when we get there, we need to know that we've got a program we're doing a whole range of events. We're reaching a whole lot of people because we can't come just for one visit. It needs to be something significant that we're coming for. And we'd love to help you. Just as Sue said, I'm happy to have the chat with you and see what we can do.
Just with a nod, is that something that can be organised in the sort of position you're in? Can there be a whole program organised? Can you connect with schools and... Yeah, perhaps that's one of the answers. I don't know if you heard that. Perhaps it should be made to happen, connect with schools, clubs and other people in the district. I sometimes wonder how much more resonance, perhaps could we take a microphone down to the back, please? Thanks. How much more resonance we have in the regional areas, because the metro clubs and schools are spoilt for choice, and the stories that come out of the visits to regional areas who perhaps I think maybe appreciate it more. And I wonder if that makes a difference.
There's no doubt about that. We were as I mentioned, in the Latrobe Valley, and I couldn't tell you how many people actually came up and thanked us for coming, which was quite remarkable. I mean, nobody thanks us for turning up here. Sue doesn't come across and thank me.
I'm going to say thank you.
I might work on that, but... well, you know, that's not the reaction we get here. They're incredibly grateful to have us there, and we have to recognise that and recognise that there's opportunities for us in regional Victoria as well.
Just quickly, just adding to what Stella said, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. We had one of the fans, I had seen her for the second time. She came to Morwell to come watch us play, and the second time I saw her, she said, "Oh, my husband thinks I'm a stalker because I'm just constantly talking about you and following Melbourne Victory." But now she couldn't believe that I recognised her and remembered her name. So those interactions, it's maybe as small as, "Hi, how are you? I remember your name," or you speak to them by their name, and it makes such a massive impact on these people.
I was just going to say, talking about sort of pulling together a program, often your local council can be really instrumental in that. So bringing a club up, and there's the local clubs involved, the local schools involved, some community groups and that sort of thing, and you can actually create a whole festival really around it.
Helpful? Cool. Up the back.
Hi, I've just got a quick question in relation to participation.
Sorry, who's talking?
Oh, hi.
Dark down there.
I've just got a quick question in relation to participation. One of the difficulties for a lot of nations around the world is translating the population of the national team to the club level participation and also the local level participation, the three various tiers. How are Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory looking to, I guess, be the bridge between the national team with the players that you have and also with local clubs who a lot of people here represent?
Sue, I'll let you take that one.
Thanks, Stella.
Thanks. You can get your own
back. And thank you for coming.
You're very welcome, Sue.
You can back that up because Anno Dong will be on a panel next, so you can get your own back.
I suppose as clubs we really see our W League players as ours, but very proud of having, I think we've got 5 or 6 Matildas at the moment. But we see FFA as being, I guess, responsible for promoting the Matilda brand, and we promote our A-League players. So I'm not W League. So I'm not quite sure how I can respond to that bridging the gap, but most certainly we are extremely proud of the players that we have in the Matildas and do promote them as such. But yeah, I don't know, Stella, if you want
and
to...
in appreciation of Sue's gratitude for me being here, I'd just like to add that Sue's absolutely right. I mean, we're employed by our A-League and W-League clubs. We do our best to promote our players and to promote engagement with our players, but I don't know that FFA would necessarily thank us if we stepped over into starting to promote Matildas and the Socceroos. We've got roles to fill in Victoria, and I think we're doing the best we can with that, but incredibly proud of the players that we have.
Sorry, whoever has the mic, please. Anne, you're not still going, are you? No.
Hi,
Please.
my name's Heather from Mildura, and I'm just backing up another step back from the Horsham lady. That, again, with a mentor program, that wonder if there's a possibility of maybe doing the Horsham and Mildura together as a combined sort of effort. We have had one of your girls, Annabelle Martin. She's actually originally from Mildura, and we thought that'd be a good idea.
G was there last school term. We were just having that discussion. Yep. So we do get out to the regions as much as we can. We had an A-League game in Ballarat just as a pre-season game. But Mildura is also an area we'd love to get to. But, as I said, everything in the regions is really about how we make the best out of that for all of the stakeholders, not just for us. What does football get out of that? In Mildura, are you looking to get extra players into clubs? What are you actually looking to achieve?
With the women, yeah.
Sorry?
Especially with female participation.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things that we talk to clubs about is, so we're working with a number of clubs to help them build their female participation. And one of the things that we recognise is it's great to say build female participation, but we're encouraging them to focus on key age groups initially so that you don't end up with 2 under-14s, 2 under-8s, 2 who are extremely capable, 2 who are just there to kick the ball around. So we're encouraging them to build cleverly, start small and focus on key age groups would be something that I would like to, I think the clubs need to look at in female engagement.
We actually went to Mildura on our very first, when we started up the club on our very first visit, and I think we had 1 player at the time, so we took him up there. But I've also actually employed a young man from Mildura, and we had a couple come down for our young leaders training last year, and more than happy to try and assist if some of your people wanted to come down. Mildura United also come every year for our Indigenous match. So again, really keen to engage with the clubs in Mildura.
Hi, my name's Amelia, and Laura and I are here today not only because we're super passionate about women in football, but also because we're launching a female-specific football brand next year. And so Laura and I have both played, and we've seen a lot of changes in women's football in terms of facilities and change rooms and all these great things. So really my question is probably to Melissa and G, asking how important is uniform to you and what role can we play in female participation?
I've actually seen the strip that Galaxy's worn this season, and I know that Laura and Amelia had a massive part in that, and it looks great. And for us as females, I'm sure it's the same with males, but sometimes you've got to look your best to play your best, and to play your best you've got to feel good, and sometimes what you're wearing, that's really important. And for myself as a young girl, I was in under 10s, 1 girl in a team full of boys, and having to get changed in a cubicle or a little corner because I couldn't get changed with the boys. I think it's really important. Having that space gets you in the zone before a game. It's kind of like a safe place that you want to be to get focused for the game. So I feel that not only wearing a uniform that you're comfortable in, but being in a space that you can prepare for the game is really important.
Yeah, I think obviously just touching on what G said, uniform and facilities is really important. We know that when girls are young, they can be quite self-conscious, and I think at that really important age, when they're becoming obviously a teenager and moving forward, you want to feel comfortable in what you're wearing, and you want to be able to play your best and feel comfortable in the uniform that you've got on. And I think that's something that is obviously moving forward one of those things that all clubs should potentially look at doing. I know that it is a hard thing to do, but it's obviously something that girls think is really important and value, and I'm sure it will be much appreciated across all female teams.
Yeah, good luck with your initiative. Sounds exciting. So who's at stand? There you are, thank you.
Sorry. G, my question's for you. You're clearly very passionate about female participation and it shows. The question though is, if you had $1 million, where would you spend that to grow female participation?
Can I answer that for you?
No,
I think we would
no.
have... Sit down, Anthony.
You said that more of these players should step up into leadership roles.
No, and I agree with that. But I would just say to you, from my perspective, if G had $1 million, she'd be out in every grassroots club across the country and probably looking to clone herself to see if she could get out to more clubs. But G, your thoughts?
Stella, you read my mind. In all honesty, just adding to what Stella said, she knows me way too well. I feel there's not enough money to be able to fix or make facilities better in Victoria. So putting those resources into getting players out to make that impact, to get the game out there would probably be the best place to invest that money, because as I said, there's not enough money, because $1 million could be spent on one facility, whereas putting that time and money into the growth of football and into the girls, I think that's the most important place to put it. Is that okay, Anthony?
So what you're saying is spend $1 million on getting girls playing football?
Yes.
Well, and as a natural byproduct of that, the more girls you get playing football, you'll create a demand, and then council comes on board and so on and so forth. So, very good move. Who is actually, sorry, I know we've got a question here. Who's holding the mic at the moment? You are. Congratulations.
Thank you. I've heard a lot about getting numbers participating, but I'd be really interested in hearing more about how you get people participating better in terms of lifting the standards of participation and the role that leadership through policy development. I've done a little bit of work with the AFL, and they talk extensively about the power of Friday night football, and what you see happening on Friday night is what you see happening on Saturday in the community clubs. And so perhaps a little bit of discussion about the how of participation rather than the how many.
I'll jump in. I think it's really important, and it's probably a role that the clubs can play, as well as the state body, in building the capacity of clubs. And I really think until we have more gender equality on boards and committees in clubs and up the chain to really drive women's participation, we're probably up against it. So I really think it starts at the top, the gender equality, and then moving through organisations and clubs to make sure that it is equal and it is fair.
And I'd like to add to that, I think if there are women in the room who feel they've got something to add to a committee, if you want to work in the canteen, no problem. But if you think you've got something to add to your club, and you're joining the committee for the right reasons, because often you'll find in grassroots clubs, and I say this from personal experience, is you'll have people who put their hand up because they want to make sure their child's doing well, or is progressing, or is following the yellow brick road to Europe. We don't want to see that. We want to see women who've got capabilities and want to support the growth of girls' football in clubs. We want to see them step up, put their hand up and give it a go, because it's great to say the men run these committees, but if the women don't put their hand up, how are the men supposed to know that you'd actually like to have a go at that? So I think that's one of the things that I'd really love to see.
And just quickly adding to that, through my coaching experience, I've found that the reason as to why those skill levels don't get better with the girls is because they coach like they're girls, whereas when I've coached the girls that I've coached like footballers, not like females or not like girls, whereas I find that a lot of coaches are coaching girls like girls, and that's why their progression or their development isn't as well as boys because they're not just getting coached like females.
Do you find that mentality is changing though, Gulcan? Because I've had a number of people say to me after watching the Matildas, wow, they're so tough. And it's kind of like, well, weren't you watching when, you know, the likes of Sarah Walsh played or Moya Dodd played? You know, Ray Dower, they never played like girls, but do you think that perception is important, that it's changed?
Definitely, it's changing, and that's the great thing about the success of the Matildas, or the light of the success of the Matildas, that is becoming more evident. So if anything, people are saying, oh, you need to play more like Sam Kerr, or you need to play more like Laura Alloway, or these players. That's as to why, because they're doing such an awesome job and scoring goals and doing amazing things.
Sorry, before you start, I'm really sorry that playing like a girl seems to be a derogatory term.
Not at all. I was just going to go back to your original question too, because it is around the visibility. And I don't think we had the visibility of Sarah Walsh and her team in those days. So as now we have a lot more visibility of the players.
We also have a lot more focus in Victoria on opportunities for women, and I point to Bridie over here, whose appointment is relatively new, but there are so many more opportunities for women in sport now that I think they really need to put their hand up and really try and get those opportunities to get involved. No pressure on you, Bridie.
One final question over here.
Hello, my name's Rocio. I'm actually the Vice President of Banyule City Soccer Club. And my question is to Melissa and G. We actually don't have a women's soccer team at the moment. We have one under-12s girls team that play in futsal because we didn't have enough to make an actual squad. So we are trying to build our female participation. But my question to you is, how did you go around finding a club that was suited to you, and how did you was it more like a parents thing, or did you actively find the club? Like, how did you go around? And also, in the club itself, when you were growing up through it, what challenges did you face that you wish your committee had helped out with?
Sorry, Mel, I'll start off. With myself, my dad was on the committee at Dingley City back in the day, which was a club based around the Turkish community, and we used to always go on a Sunday and watch the senior men play. And when they eventually had a juniors team, I wanted to join, but there was only a boys team. With that, the challenges I faced, that I couldn't even kick a ball. I was very passionate but had no skill level at all, but the determination I had, and I just persevered and kept training, and with that it was difficult. And when I look back on it now, it actually made me a stronger person because I just kept persevering and chased my goals. But back then, the role models I had was David Beckham and Kathy Freeman, whereas the role models that the girls have today are footballers that are female, and I think that's a way in which it'll help them overcome it like I did when I was younger. And there's always going to be challenges and hurdles. It's that support group, whether it's family or friends, that'll really assist in those girls continuing chasing their goals.
Look, I think when we're talking about junior football, there's always going to be someone that's going to push you to play, to make that start. And I think with me, it was my dad. And I remember the first time going to a club, he obviously picked the club that he thought would be suitable based on, you know, people that he knew in the community. And I remember just holding the car door handle, not wanting to get out because I was frightened of going out to the first training session. And when I got back into the car, it was the best thing that I had ever done, and I've played for 12 years since. So I think you definitely rely on someone to give you that little bit of a push, and then it's up to you on the rest. And I think some of the challenges that I've experienced in the last 12 years of playing football are definitely some of these things that everyone's mentioned. So the girls at the back, the uniforms, the change room facilities, the support in women's football as well. So I think definitely there's been a shift in that so far, but there's some of the challenges and I guess the reasons why you initially start playing.
Sorry, just quickly adding to that, with the under-10s boys, I keep going back to it, but when I look back on it, all those boys that I played with that never passed me the ball, never wanted me in the team, not one of them has either represented their country or played at the A-League level or even at NPL level. So I just see that as women, I feel like we're Thank you, thank you.
G knows that because she has a list up on the wall.
Is that one of the clubs you visit to talk to?
I feel like as women, we have such determination. When we put our minds to something, we do whatever we can to get it done and to reach our goals.
Indeed, and if I can just add one more to that, not as a player but as a soccer mom, don't want to teach you to suck eggs, but I found that when we couldn't fill a team at our club, and we have plenty of girls playing, it was more about divisions in the age groups, is telling the girls to get their friends along, and then it became a thing. And I think for girls sometimes it just becomes a thing. They're not particularly amazing footballers, but they have a really good time and they stay committed to their football, so that may be something else that you can perhaps explore. Now, I know this is a massive topic and there's probably more questions and we might have to let you chat about them socially afterwards because we do need to move on to our leadership panel. But, folks, it's been wonderful to hear your opinions and certainly the opinions of these four ladies next to me. Would you please thank Sue, Melissa, Stella and Gulcan. Thank you.